I'd love to hear your views and opinions on how you think the first test match is going to go between the British and Irish Lions and the Wallabies, to be played at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane on Saturday night. If you are in Queensland and you're going along to the game, enjoy the beautiful city of Brisbane. I know there's a lot of British and Irish Lions visitors on tour over there at the moment. It's a wonderful place to go out and enjoy. It's a fantastic city. There's some great bars and pubs to go to as you lead up to Suncorp Stadium there, which used to be known as the famous Lang Park in Brisbane. So have a wonderful night, stay safe, enjoy the rugby, and get on with all those Aussie people, because they're not too bad at the end of the day. So here we go, it's the British and Irish Lions finally against the Australian Wallabies, being played at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, Australia. For those that are going to go up Caxton Street before the game and have a few cold ones, have one for me, and enjoy the game if you're getting along there. Now in this video I'm going to do the preview show of the game and give you all my thoughts around the team selections, as well as the predictions of what I think is going to happen in this beautiful game on Saturday night and why it's going to happen. So let's get into it. G'day everyone, if you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan who's living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico, on the shores of the Caribbean Sea, where there's plenty of taco and cold ones for everyone. So come and join us one day and we'll watch some rugby. Okay, let's get into it, and it's going to be a fantastic game. I want to dedicate this particular video to James Slipper, the Australian prop, who's going to play his 145th test match on Saturday night. What a milestone for James Slipper. He's been an absolute stalwart for Australian rugby over the years, and he becomes now the 4th most capped rugby player of all time. And if you don't know who the other 3 ahead of him are, it's Alan Wynne-Jones is number 1, Sam Whitelock from New Zealand is number 2, and Richie McCaw number 3. So James Slipper will now slot into number 4 on the list of all-time international caps across the world of rugby. So Mr. Slipper, congratulations to you. I've watched you play live a few times and you've done some fantastic things for Australian rugby, and wouldn't it be fantastic to have a win against the Lions in your 145th test match? Okay, let's have a look at the Wallabies first, folks, and I'll talk about that team that's been selected. And poor old Joe Schmidt's had it coming at him from all different angles in the last week in terms of the build up to this game. He's lost a couple of players to injury that he would really love to have in this team, and there's a couple of surprises as well when it comes to the naming of this team. So let's have a look at the Aussie forwards that are going to start this game. We'll start off in the front row as always. James Slipper, as I just mentioned, 145 caps, and then we've got Matty Faisler, and we've got Alan Alaalatoa. So I think it's a good front row for Australia. I think they're going to be up against it, and you'll see why when I talk about the British and Irish Lions team as soon as I name them. But a good front row for Aussie. They're going to have to be on their game to compete in the set piece, and I think this is an area where the Australians might have a little bit of trouble. Moving on to the locks for the Wallabies, and 2 really good locks here. I like this locking combination. Nick Frost is outstanding, but so is Jeremy Williams, and I tell you what, by the time we get to the 2027 Rugby World Cup, I think Jeremy Williams is going to be one of the best locks in world rugby. So keep an eye on him if you haven't seen him play before. He's going to get a lot of line-out ball, I'm predicting, for the Wallabies in this game. It's going to be up to the other forwards to see whether they can protect him and also give a good base, particularly in the set piece at the scrum time. Then we move into the loosies, and this is where Australia's had a little bit of trouble, I think, and Joe Schmidt in particular when it comes to his selections. We've got a new player coming in for the Wallabies in a loosie. It's D. Crepinier. Haven't seen him play at all. This is his debut for the Wallabies, so what a huge occasion for him to come out and play in this game. The other loose forward, the Australians, is going to be Fraser McWright, and in number 8 we're going to see Harry Wilson, the captain of this Australian team. And there's no Rob Valentini in this team for the Wallabies, and that's a huge minus. I think the Australians really need Rob Valentini. He's an absolute fantastic player, and he would have given another dimension to this Wallaby pack. So there's one of the question marks I already have for this Australian Wallaby pack. Missing Rob Valentini, I think it's going to play a big part in this particular game, but let's see how these other lads go. I am liking the locking combination. It's all going to depend on whether that front row can stand up and give any competition to the British and Irish Lions for 80 minutes, and we'll see who's going to come off the bench for the Wallabies in a minute. Okay, so that's the starting 8 for the Wallabies. Let's have a look at their backline now. And at halfback we're going to see Jake Gordon, Then we move on to number 10, and this is where we see the big change for the Wallabies. And unfortunately for Joe Schmidt, we saw Noah Lolesio go off against Fiji. One of the problems I had with Australia playing that particular game as a warm-up game, and Lolesio is going to be out for quite a while. He got badly concussed in that particular game, and Australia has lost their go-to number 10 for the series. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on the new man that's coming in. It's Tom Lynagh, of course, the son of Michael Lynagh, the famous number 10 in a Wallaby jersey way back when. And let's hope that he can channel some of his dad's brilliance in helping the Wallabies get forward in this particular game. But this is going to be a critical position in the game, I feel, on Saturday night. Tom Lynagh starting at number 10 for the Wallabies. And then outside him, the midfield that we probably were going to predict, Len Ekitau at 12 and Joseph Sua'ali in number 13. And those two, when they get on a roll, can cause some damage. So it's all going to depend on whether the Wallabies get some good ball that these two are going to be able to use, but also what are they going to be able to create in open play and do some spontaneous stuff on a counter attack. That's something to watch from both Len Ekitau and Joseph Sua'ali. I think they're going to be on point and have a good game. They're going to need to get close to this Lions team. And then on the wings, we've got Harry Potter. Yes, it's not the man from the book. It's Harry Potter, the rugby player. He plays pretty well. He's very fast as well, so look for him. And Matt Jorgensen is back in the Australian Wallaby colours again. He played against the Fijians the other week, and so when he's in space with that ball, he can be extremely dangerous. Tom Wright will wear the 15 at fullback for the Wallabies in this game. I'm a fan of Tom Wright. I think he's a very good fullback, very good on the counter attack, so look to see whether the Wallabies use him to open up play in the midfield. That could be an area where he tees up with Jorgensen or Potter and causes some disruption up the middle of the field on a counter attack. Tom Wright in the number 15 jersey. Okay, so that's the starting 15 for the Wallabies. It's pretty good, but they're going to have to be good on the night, and I'll explain why after I've gone through the Lions team. But before we get to the Lions, let's have a look at the bench that'll come on for the Wallabies. And in the front row, they're going to have Pollard, Bell and Robertson. Angus Bell is the standout for me in this Wallabies bench. He can come on and cause all sorts of disruption. He's a very good ball handler, and he also gets through a lot of breaks and a lot of work on the field when he comes on off the bench. So watch Angus Bell to have a big impact, because I think that last 20 or 30 minutes of the game when the benches are loaded onto the field, it's going to be a critical part of the game, particularly for the Wallabies. A big game from Angus Bell is expected. Then the other two forwards we're going to see is Tom Hooper, and we're going to see Tizano as well. Tizano, for me, needs to watch his discipline. We've seen him give away a number of penalties at key times in test matches. He's a brilliant player. I like his energy. He's very, very strong, and he can really hustle the ball back for the Australians, but he has to watch his discipline. Tom Hooper's a great player, going to be a fantastic player in the future, and that's what I can say a lot about the squad that Joe Schmidt has developed over the last 12 months. It's a very, very good rugby team of young players that are really starting to play good rugby. So looking at the Wallabies backline, come off the bench, we're going to see Tate McDermott, Mr. Reliable. You know what you're going to get with Tate McDermott, and he's also good under pressure. So if we're having any problems with Jake Gordon, McDermott will come on and he'll be able to manage the game a lot more effectively. Then we've got Ben Donaldson, and for me, Ben Donaldson makes the wrong decisions on many occasions in this Australian backline. So this is going to be a pivotal position when he comes on in the second half. Is he going to make the right calls? And are we going to see him slot into number 10, or could he go to fullback? That's another option available to Joe Schmidt with Ben Donaldson. And then the last player we're going to see come off the bench is going to be Andrew Callaway. Tons of experience, Callaway. He can come on and play a utility player at the back, any position from the midfield through to the wings and the fullback. So Andrew Callaway gives the Wallabies a good option off the bench. So there we go. That's the Wallabies team. Not their number one team because of a couple of injuries. I think they're going to miss Valentini a lot. They're also going to miss Noah Lolesio in this game, and we're going to have to see how their respective replacements stand up for the Wallabies. Okay, let's talk about the British and Irish Lions now, and they've played 5 games on this tour, which I think is a huge advantage coming into this first test match, and I think that's one of the reasons it's going to determine the outcome of this particular test. Result of that, we are going to see better combinations in play by the British and Irish Lions, because they've got that combinations working. They've been playing together midweek and weekend games, and this particular team that Andy Farrell has chosen has been outstanding on different occasions. Let's have a look at their backline first, starting off at fullback, and it's the Irishman Hugo Keenan. That's going to be in the 15 jersey, a very elusive runner from the back. Does some very good things when he's interjecting himself into the backline. Watch him to be a danger. He can break the first line of a tackle on many occasions. Hugo Keenan at 15. So then moving on to the wings, no surprises here for me. James Lowe, first of all, the Irishman on the left wing, who's going to be able to clear that ball with his big left foot if he needs to. He's good on defence as well. And as I say, there was no surprise James Lowe getting that position as far as I was concerned. And then on the other side, Tommy Freeman, who's had a very good tour. I've seen him play some very good games for the Lions so far on this tour. He can be extremely dangerous close to the line. He knows how to finish and get over the line, so watch out for that. Then in the centre pairings, this was the centre pairing I was going to choose as well. Hugh Jones at 13 and Simone Tuipulotu in the number 12 jersey, the Scottish Kiwi, who's going to be playing in the midfield. Hugh Jones has been outstanding so far on this Lions tour. We've seen a new version of Hugh Jones as far as I'm concerned. He loves playing on the hard grounds in Australia with a dry ball. I think that makes a lot of difference to his game. And with Tuipulotu inside of him, watch for these two to cause danger for the Australian defensive line. I can see a lot of breaks coming from Hugh Jones in this particular game. And then moving into number 10 for the Lions, well, he's the best number 10 in world rugby at the moment, in my eyes. Finn Russell, he's been playing outstanding on this tour, and he plays outstanding rugby nearly every time he goes onto the field. And when he's got the quality of players around him like he does in this Lions team, he just goes to another level. He's been kicking very well on this tour, both from the tee and in general play, but it's his distribution, his ability to put a player through a gap, which is outstanding. Watch for him to cause havoc in this game on Saturday night. Inside him, we've got Jamison Gibson Park. Has been a little bit slow at times, I've thought, on this tour, but he's got the experience that Andy Farrell was looking for. And in these big games, he'll stand up and prove himself to be very, very worthy. And watch out for his box kicking strategy in this game. That's going to be something else. The Lions are going to put the Australian back three under a lot of pressure and come up and competing. So we're going to see James Lowe and Tommy Freeman competing for those box kicks that have been put up by Jamison Gibson Park. Okay, time for the Lions forwards now, and starting at number 8, we're going to see Jack Conan, the Irishman. He's been playing outstanding on this tour. Very difficult to pick this team from Andy Farrell. I'm sure that he had sleepless nights trying to come up with the different combinations, but Conan's been outstanding on this tour and expect him to have a really big game. And then looking at 6 and 7, well, this was going to be another difficult selection process, but we're going to see Tom Curry and we're going to see Ty Byrne. So I think this is a really good combination. We've got Curry, who'll just grind away and hustle and bullock all day long, and Ty Byrne is super fast at the breakdown, so watch out for the loose forwards to have a big impact. Cleaning the ball out at speed is going to be a pinnacle to this Lions' success in this first test, I think, and these two players are going to be instrumental in that process. Then moving into the locks, well, it's Maro Itoje. He's probably the first name on the list for this team. Absolutely outstanding player, whether he's wearing an England jersey or British and Irish Lions jersey. He'll be leading from the front. Watch him in the lineouts. He's extraordinary. He'll secure a very good ball for the Lions in this particular game, and one of my favourites in the Lions team. As is the next man, because they're just full of superstars. Joe McCarthy's going to come into lock with Maro Itoje. He's been brilliant throughout the tour as well, and Itoje and McCarthy has just got a dynamism about it that's going to cause problems to this Australian team, and not just at set piece. Watch for these guys getting around the ground and how they're able to secure ball as well, particularly Joe McCarthy, and I wouldn't be surprised if McCarthy gets on the try scoring sheet for this game for the Lions. And then when it comes to the front row to start this game, well, I thought it was pretty predictable because these three have been playing very, very well on tour. Genge is going to be one of the props, Ty Furlong's the other one, and in the middle, the Irishman Dan Sheehan, who's played brilliantly, scored a few tries too, I think, throughout this Lions tour. So a brilliant front row, and I think they're going to give the Australian Wallabies a very difficult time as well, and that's going to be an area of the game that I put a particular emphasis on. So that's the starting 8 for the Lions. Outstanding 8, and as I said, Andy Farrell had a plethora of choices, didn't he, when it came to selecting great players for this particular team. And then if we move on to the bench for the Lions, well, it really shows the depth of the players that they have to be able to bring on this kind of talent. And I'm talking about Callagher, Porter and Stewart in the front row when they come on. Again, it must have been a very hard selection choice, but to have those guys available to come off the bench is going to be an outstanding form for the Lions. And then when it comes to the other two forwards off the bench, we're going to see Ollie Chisholm, who I thought has taken his game to another level on this tour so far for the Lions. He's been outstanding in different games I've watched. And Ben Earl, of course, who is tough as nails and will come off the bench with an Australian team that's tiring and cause all sorts of problems. So it's just not going to stop for the Wallabies in this game. And I think that's going to be another pivotal moment in this game for the Lions, is when this bench comes on and all sorts of problems for the Wallabies. And then we've got the three backs that have come off the bench. We've got Mitchell, we've got Marcus Smith, and we've got Bundy Arki. What a selection to come off the bench. You've got Mitchell, who's been playing really well on the tour as well. He's got a good kicking strategy going at the moment. Then you've got Marcus Smith. We know that he can be brilliant on the day and cause all sorts of problems for defence. Probably hasn't quite been there just yet on this Lions tour compared to some of his competition. And then we've got Bundy Arki, and we all know what Bundy can do when he comes off the bench late in a game. So this is a fantastic bench in the backs for the Lions, and I think they're going to cause all sorts of problems. So there we go. Those are the two teams that will start and come off the bench for the respective teams. So how's this game going to go? Well, I think it's going to be all plain sailing for the Lions, to be honest. I've been thoroughly impressed with them on this tour. Andy Farrell's got them playing really, really good rugby. They're playing at speed. They've got a lot of depth and talent. Their kicking game has been on point. They've been able to score a lot of points. The only fault that I've really got is in a couple of their games, they lost their momentum for a little bit, let the other team get into the game, and they didn't quite close it out as they should have done. But I've been saying the same thing in my videos about South Africa and the All Blacks so far this year as well. But I think the Lions will turn that around in this game, just because it's the first test match of this series. They'll be all pumped up. They'll be wanting to go the full 80 minutes. And I think the Lions are really going to put Australia to the sword in this game. I love Joe Schmidt, and there's nothing more than I want to see this Wallabies team beat the Lions. But with their one game warm-up against the Fijians, all these injuries that they've got, their backs are against the wall, and maybe that's a really good thing for them. Maybe Joe Schmidt can take them from that underdog status that they must be in this first test and bring them out in front of this home crowd at Suncorp Stadium, where there's going to be 50,000 people screaming and supporting them, along with a big British and Irish Lions contingent. I think the crowd party is going to be extraordinary in this game as well. And but I think it's going to be a bridge too far for the Wallabies. I think in the second half the Lions are going to have too much coming off the bench, and if Australia are not in touch with the Lions at half time, it's going to be a long day at the office. And I just hope they don't get pummeled by too much, because that really is on the radar as far as I'm concerned. You know, I would love it to be a close game for the sake of the series, but I think the Wallabies are going to learn a lot from this first test either way. And I think that's going to help Joe Schmidt as he goes away and then prepares for the second and third test. He's going to be without some of his key players for the series, so now he's got to adapt and adopt a new strategy perhaps around the people that he's bringing in, and that's going to bring out the brilliance of Joe Schmidt. I think he's an extraordinary, wonderful coach, and Andrew Farrell won't be underestimating him and his team at all. They know that they're going to need to go out there and play 80 minutes against this Wallabies team. But I think there's too much class in this backline from the Lions. When you've got Finn Russell on the back of Jamison, Gibson, Park in that 9-10 combination, they can do anything with ball in hand, and also their kicking can make a major difference in games like this. And then to unleash Tua Piloto and Hugh Jones in the backline with the back three for the Lions, I think Australia are going to have a bit of a nightmare when it comes to high ball and territory. They're going to be having put under a lot of pressure in their set piece, because the Lions are going to use that kicking advantage, and they're going to be able to put the pressure on the Australian forwards back in their own half, and we're going to have to see how they can put up with that. James Slipper, I hope you have a fantastic game. I hope you don't get injured at all. You've been picking up a couple of injuries lately. You don't want to see you have an injury in this game on your 145th cap, and get out there and do the jersey proud yet again, sir. Okay, well, that's my thoughts around the British Irish Lions against the Australian Wallabies. I see at least a 20-point win to the Lions in this first test match, because the Wallabies haven't had enough warm-up games. They're missing some key players, and I think the British and Irish Lions combinations that they've been putting together so far on this tour, both in the forwards and in the back line, are going to be too much class for this Wallabies in this first test. And I keep emphasising in this first test, because I think we're going to see different things in the second and third test match. So there you go, that's my opinions around this. This is the preview show for the game. I'll be back with a review show after the game, giving you my opinions, see if anything I've said today has come true, and you can give me all a bollocking in the comments if you want to around my thoughts on this game. But I'd love to hear your views and opinions on how you think the first test match is going to go between the British and Irish Lions and the Wallabies, to be played at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane on Saturday night. If you are in Queensland and you're going along to the game, enjoy the beautiful city of Brisbane. I know there's a lot of British and Irish Lions visitors on tour over there at the moment. It's a wonderful place to go out and enjoy. It's a fantastic city. There's some great bars and pubs to go to as you lead up to Suncorp Stadium there, which used to be known as the famous Lang Park in Brisbane. So have a wonderful night, stay safe, enjoy the rugby, and get on with all those Aussie people, because they're not too bad at the end of the day. Okay, that's it for this particular video, everyone. Stay safe, stay well. I'll see you again soon in the next episode. Until then, it's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Bye for now.